Truth is, nobody tells you that crashing a starship is the easy part. The hard part is waking up in a room that smells like cinnamon and ozone, looking at a creature who seems made of spun glass, and trying not to break her with your clumsy high-gravity movements. They call it Terran resilience, but honestly, looking back at the medical logs now, the verdict was simpler. We are just too wild to die. I remember the silence first. Oimara Prime doesn't do noise. It does hums, vibrations, and shifting light. When I opened my eyes, the ceiling was breathing. Soft pulses of teal and lavender, bioluminescence that synced with the throbbing headache behind my eyes. My ribs felt like they had been reassembled by an amateur with a glue gun, but I was breathing. That was a start. I tried to sit up. Bad idea. My density, bone density bred on a world that crushes you with 1G from birth, felt ludicrous here. The cot creaked violently under my shift in weight. Then I saw her, Elara. She was standing by a console that looked more grown than built, her skin a translucent, shifting pearl white. She had no mouth to speak of, just large, expressive eyes and a crest of delicate fronds that twitched with every breath I took. I froze. First contact protocols dictate you don't make sudden moves. You don't show teeth. You don't try to be intimidating. But I wasn't trying to be intimidating. I was just a human pilot who was thirsty, sore, and currently feeling like an erratic heat lamp in a refrigerator. I tried to speak, my voice scraping out like gravel in a blender. "Hey!" I rasped. Elara flinched. Actually, physically flinched. The colors on her skin riotously flashed from calm pearl to a startled, deep violet. Her fronds flattened against her skull. I mean, I get it now. To her, my voice wasn't just sound. It was a seismic event. Humans are loud. Our hearts beat like bass drums. Our blood pumps with a pressure that would burst a Silveri vein. I was a walking, talking biological subwoofer. I raised a hand, palm open. The universal sign for I come in peace and please don't probe me. She didn't run. That was the first sign of that strange, baffling courage she had. Instead, she stepped closer. She was reading me, but not with a scanner. She was reading the pheromones, the heat signature, the microscopic tremors in my muscles. This was the basics of xenolinguistics, I suppose, only we weren't using words. We were shouting at each other with our biology. I pointed to the pitcher of water on the nearby table. My hand was shaking, not from fear, but from the sheer effort of holding my heavy Terran arm up in this low-gravity air. Elara tilted her head. The violet faded to a curious, soft blue. She floated. She didn't walk. She glided over to the table and brought the pitcher. When she reached out to hand it to me, our fingers brushed. That was the moment. The touch that baffled a galaxy. I didn't think anything of it. Her skin was cool, smooth, like polished river stone. Mine was hot, rough, callus-covered skin. But the reaction was instantaneous. Elara gasped, a soft, melodic trill. Her eyes widened, the pupils blowing out until her eyes were pools of liquid starlight. She dropped the pitcher. I caught it. Instinct. Human reflex speed is apparently terrifying to a species that evolved in a world without predators. I snatched the vessel out of the air before it hit the floor, some water sloshing onto my wrist in her hand. "I'm sorry," I blurted out, reaching forward to steady her because she looked like she was about to faint. I grabbed her hand, firmly, securely, the way you catch a friend stumbling on a hike. I wasn't thinking about xenobiology. I was just being a person. The effect was nuclear. Where her skin met mine, a golden light erupted beneath her dermis. It wasn't a burn. It was a bloom. I could feel her pulse jump, trying to match the heavy, slow thud of my own heart. It was a chaotic synchronization. And on my end, the pain in my ribs vanished, just evaporated. It was healing at the speed of feeling. The adrenaline, the dopamine, And the sheer chemical cocktail of a human making a social bond was flooding my system, and through the contact, it was kick-starting something in hers. She didn't pull away. She stared at our joined hands, watching the golden light trace up her arm, mesmerizing and terrifying. I should have let go. I should have adhered to quarantine procedure. But she looked so fragile, and I felt so inexplicably protective that I just held on. "You're okay," I whispered, unaware that I was pumping enough bioelectric warmth into her system to power a small city. "I've got you." She looked up at me, the blue of her skin deepening to a color I didn't have a name for yet. It wasn't fear anymore. It was hunger, not for food, but for that impossible radiated heat of a creature evolved to survive the worst the universe could throw at it. The door to the sanctuary didn't slide open. It dissolved, a shimmering curtain of light giving way to another Sylvari. This one was taller, his skin a more academic shade of charcoal gray, and he was carrying a device that looked like a very sophisticated glass flute. "Ziffer," Ilara whispered, though she didn't let go of my hand. If anything, she tightened her grip, her fingers interlocking with mine in a way that felt entirely too natural. The newcomer stopped dead. He looked at the golden glow radiating from Ilara's arm, then at the monitors on the wall that were currently screaming in silent, light-based data. He looked back at me, his eyes wide and blinking in a frantic rhythm. Honestly, I expected him to call the guards. I expected to be tackled for being a biohazard or a primitive brute. Instead, he just exhaled a whistling breath and sat down on a floating stool. "Incredible," he murmured. "Truth is, we studied your biology from the crash site. We saw the high-gravity adaptation, the dense bones, the heavy musculature meant to fight a world that wants to pull you down. We thought you were just built for violence." I blinked, feeling a bit insulted. "I mean, I'm a pilot, not a brawler. I'm built for G-force and bad coffee." Zypher shook his head, his own fronds twitching in excitement. "No, Kalen Vance. We didn't understand the cost of that evolution. To live in a world of high gravity, you needed more than just strength. You needed a heart that works 10 times harder than ours. You needed a social bond that can withstand the literal weight of the world." He pointed his flute device at the screen. "Look at your cellular regeneration. It's not just fast. Or it's being powered by the oxytocin and the thermal energy you are transferring to her. You aren't just healing yourself. You are sharing your life force because you think she's in trouble." I looked at Ilara. She was still staring at me, her skin now a warm, sunset orange. She looked healthier than she had 5 minutes ago. More vivid. "Wait," I said, my voice finally losing some of its gravel. "You're saying my feelings are literally fixing my broken ribs?" "In a way, yes," Zephyr replied. "Your species is a biological anomaly. You evolved in such a high-stress environment that you developed empathy as a survival mechanism. Your touch isn't just physical, it's a bridge. We Silvari, we evolved in peace, in low stress. We are stable, but we are static. We don't know how to jumpstart ourselves." He looked at the two of us, his expression softening into something like awe. "You are the missing variable, pilot. Your resilience isn't in your muscles. It's in the way you refuse to let go of someone else's hand." Zephyr left us then, probably to go write a very long paper about how humans are basically walking emotional batteries. The room fell back into that quiet, cinnamon-scented stillness. I didn't let go. I don't know. Maybe I should have been worried about the political implications of being a missing variable for an entire civilization. But Ilara was leaning her head toward my shoulder, her cool skin absorbing the heat I had to spare. "Does it hurt?" she projected, her thoughts brushing against my mind like a soft breeze. "The weight of your world?" I looked at her, then down at our hands, the rough Terran palm and the delicate Sylvari fingers woven together. Sometimes, I admitted, it's a lot to carry. But the thing about humans is, we're pretty good at sharing the load. She didn't have a mouth to smile with, but the way her skin turned a brilliant, joyful gold told me everything I needed to know. It was a sacred pact made over a spilled pitcher of water. I think I'm going to like it here, I whispered, leaning back into the cushions. Ilara just squeezed my hand, her pulse finally settling into the rhythm of my own. We were a collision of two different worlds, sure, but for the first time since the crash, the silence didn't feel heavy at all.